This week, we're going to look at upper air data to see if the Chinese balloon that's been in the news so much was following the expected upper air path. Welcome to another MetPy Monday. Hello, I'm John Lehman, a software engineer for Unidata. This week, I wanted to look at something that's been in the news a lot in the past week, which was a balloon that flew over the U.S. Now, this balloon was sighted at many places across the country, and it was actually pretty difficult to find much path information or accurate sighting times, but this graphic that I found from a news station is about the best that's out there. So we can see that the balloon was sighted over Billings, Pleasant Hill, Columbia, Asheville, and Myrtle Beach with some level of accuracy on the timing. There was an hour variation in the read point, so I didn't count that one. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 legs of a flight that we should be able to determine, is that what we expected the balloon to do based on upper air data. And to me, this is one of the really powerful things about Python and being able to use tools from Unidata like Siphon and MetPy that let us do calculations and get data quickly and easily to do some of these really not even back of the envelope, but a little more accurate than that calculations. So there's a lot of typing in coordinates and times in this Monday. So what we're going to do instead is go through the code line by line instead of type it together live. So let's look at these first few cells. First, I'm going to import the datetime object from the datetime library because I know we're going to be dealing with times. We need to figure out how long it took to get between points on the face of the Earth and turn that into a velocity. All right, and then I've got the coordinates for Billings, Pleasant Hill, Columbia, Asheville, and Myrtle Beach. And to get those coordinates, I simply typed Billings lat.lon into Google and used what came up. So those are our coordinates. And then I put them in a list called path chords, which has them in the order that the balloon traversed each of these sites. Next, I made a path times list, which used the datetime object. So year, month, day, hour, minute, and I just left seconds off. And for the hours where we just have something like 12 or 2, we should assume 0 minutes. We don't have any other information. These are all in Eastern time, so we have to convert that to UTC, so +5 in this case. And that's where these numbers come from. Now, the tricky part, and something that without the power of Python and all of these libraries would be more difficult to do, is what is the distance and the bearing between each of these points that make up these legs. Now, because the Earth is a sphere and we're dealing with non-trivial distances, we can't just assume straight line necessarily. And we have to be a little careful about measuring bearing on a map unless we know that it's a bearing preserving map, which distorts other things like distance. So luckily, PyProj has us covered. So we're going to import PyProj. I'm going to say that we're going to use the WGS84 ellipsoid. And I create empty lists for leg length, leg bearing, leg time. Next, I'm going to write a simple for loop that's going to go over each leg. So to do this, I'm going to have for I in range the length of our path coordinates -1. Why is that? Because we have 5 coordinates but 4 legs. So leg 1 will be between point 0 and 1, leg 2 between 1 and 2, and so on. Now we use the inverse operator on our geodesic object, and we give it the longitude, latitude. That's why we have 0 and 1, longitude and latitude. That's the order that we enter those coordinates in. and longitude and latitude of our second point. So I and I plus 1 gives us our leg. This returns the bearing, or the forward azimuth. It returns a back azimuth from point 2 to point 1, but that's not what we need. The balloon's traveling from 1 to 2, so we just throw that away by assigning it to underscore, and a distance in meters. So I'm going to append distance to my leg lengths, bearing to my leg bearings, and a time delta object that I get by differencing 2 times 2 leg times. So if we look at that, leg lengths, we can see how many meters out to some ridiculous precision that doesn't make any difference, but something like 1.4 million meters on the first leg, 168,000 on the second, so that's a very short, but remember that's only an hour in between those observations, so we don't have a lot of confidence in that really. Just under 1 million meters here, and then something like 400,000 meters on the last leg. Then we can look at the bearings between all of those points. So 118, 83, 110, 121, and then the elapsed time. So remember there's about 86,400 seconds in a day. So this first one is almost 2 days. It's 1 day, 62,100 seconds. There's 3,600 seconds in an hour. So this is about 2 hours. Then we've got not quite a day and a pretty small fraction of a day. So did we do our math right? Well, if we look, we've got over a day, a couple of hours, not quite a day, and a small portion of a day. So yeah, that looks about right. Now just thinking about my data, over the longer leg lengths, we can tolerate more uncertainty in the time because it's going to get averaged out over a longer distance. But for example, between Pleasant Hill and Columbia, well, we only have a 2-hour difference there. And it's very possible that instead of turning east here, the balloon was actually somewhere here and able to be seen from Columbia. So we don't necessarily trust this leg that much. It's averaged over a very short time. The direction is much different than the other legs. But we'll go ahead and leave it in the mix for analysis because why are we going to throw out that data point? We have it. Okay. And then we can calculate a leg velocity. I'm doing this with a list comprehension. So length divided by time is a speed. So here we're actually calculating a speed, but we also have already calculated the direction, which makes it a velocity. And I call the total seconds method on these time delta objects, which just gets me seconds instead of days and seconds or hours and so on. And I'm doing that for each length and time in our leg lengths and leg times. And that gives us these velocities, so anywhere between 9 and, say, 23 meters per second. So now we know what the balloon was observed to do in terms of bearing and speed, but what was the upper air doing? And this is where Siphon and MetPy's units make things just very easy. So I looked at a map of all the upper air sounding stations. You can find this many places from the Wyoming Upper Air Data Service. You can find it on the Storm Prediction Center website. And I found that North Platte, Topeka, Nashville, and Charleston were closest to mid-route for each of these legs. And then I estimated which time would be closest. So soundings are launched at 0Z and 12Z from all of these stations. So I tried to pick the closest 0 or 12Z sounding to when I thought the balloon would have been in the vicinity of that station and created these leg sounding times. Then we import from metpy.units the units registry and the pandas data frame to unit arrays helper. And from Siphon Simple Web Services, we import the Wyoming Upper Air object from the Wyoming module. Here's where we're actually going to go get the data and do some calculations with it. I create 2 empty lists for sounding speeds and sounding directions. And then I'm going to loop over our sounding stations and sounding times. I'm going to call the request data method on the Wyoming Upper Air object, which goes and retrieves that data from the Upper Air Radiosonde archive. I turn it into unit arrays using the pandas data frame to unit arrays helper. So we've talked about this a lot in previous videos, but if you don't remember, it takes that pandas data frame, which we have attached a units attribute onto, and turns it into a dictionary where the keys are the names of the variable and the values are unit and numpy arrays, or quantities. Next, I find the index of where the pressure is some target pressure that I'm interested in. So I did a little bit of research, and it seems that somewhere between 50 and 100 hectopascals, so kind of that 20 kilometer-ish or 65,000 plus or minus foot range, is where we thought this balloon was flying altitude-wise. And you can, and I encourage you to, change this. I've tried several different altitudes, and 70 seems to match up most closely with the observations that we have. And it's almost splitting the difference between the two hypothesized altitudes that I've found in news articles. So that seems reasonable. I take the wind speed data column, or in this case, access the speed key of the now dictionary, and I index into it using where the pressure is 70 hectopascals, and convert that to meters per second, because something like knots isn't very useful for what we're trying to do here. We're working in SI units. We've already calculated meters per second speed for the balloon. Now the sounding directions, we take the direction, and in this case I'm going to subtract 180, and if that went below 0, we would have to do some math in here to make sure that we wrap correctly, but it doesn't in this case. And the reason I'm doing that is, remember, wind tells us what direction the wind is coming from. We want to know what direction the balloon is blowing to. So we need to take the 180 of that. I'm going to make a list that has my leg number from 1 to 4. So remember, we start at 1 and go up to, but not including 5 with this syntax. Import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, our standard shorthand for making plots. And then I make our plot. So I'm using the subplots to do 2 rows of plots that share the x-axis. I'm storing the figure in fig and the axes list in axes. Then I call scatter with leg number and velocities and speeds, observed and calculated. If we wanted to put a legend on, though I didn't do that in this case, I elected to put the observed in black and the calculated from soundings in green. I set the Y limits to a reasonable range. I do the same with bearings. I go from 0 to 360, the leg bearings that we observe, and the sounding bearings that we calculate. Set the ticks to just be leg numbers so we don't get any fractional leg number ticks. That doesn't make any sense. And put some labels on. So now what we see is for each leg, we're actually surprisingly close for as much guesswork as we're having to do. We don't know exactly if the balloon was above each of these observation points. In fact, it probably wasn't. We don't know the exact times, probably just to the nearest half hour at best, really. And we're not doing too bad. We're staying within 10 or 20 degrees bearing, and we're kind of varying around each other. We've got 3 data points that are higher bearing observed than expected, 1 where that's inverted, and same with the speed, 3 where the observed speed is lower than the expected speed, 1 where it's a little bit higher. Though remember, this second leg is our shortest leg, where we maybe don't trust those times quite as much, and they're going to make a much bigger difference. But we can see that the balloon is roughly doing what we expected it to do. And this is all with not very many lines of Python and using data that's available in news articles and free publicly available data archives. There's been lots of reports that the balloon had some steering capabilities or navigation capabilities. And while that may be true, you can't fight these upper level winds and go against the wind or do much more than change your speed slightly or turn a little bit. The main way that you could navigate something like this is by changing altitudes, which could be another reason that our data don't perfectly line up. It's very feasible that if you wanted to steer a balloon you would just change to an altitude where the wind favors the direction you want to go a little bit more. So I hope that you found this useful and really pretty interesting that with just a little bit of Python, we can make plots like this. I'll see you on next week's MetPy Monday.